武蔵坊弁慶総兵として権限した。よろしくお願いする。
Saito Mushshibo Benkei, Lancer Class Servant. Saito Mushshibo Benkei, known simply as Benkei, was a famous warrior monk from the last years of Japan's Heian era, around the year 1185. Much of his life and adventures have long since turned into folklore. However, when summoning a servant, folklore and truth don't necessarily matter. We've seen phantoms like Paul Bunyan, Hessian Lobo, Sasaki Kojiro, and others that are able to sustain their saint graph on their urban legends and myths. Benkei was said to be both incredibly tall, standing at over 2.1 meters, or roughly 7 feet, and he was horribly ugly. I'm sure that next to me he'd still win the most handsome contest, but during his childhood he was nicknamed Oni Wakamaru, or Demon Child. His natural size and appearance are likely the explanation for his second skill, Imposing Stance, a one-turn target focus and defense buff. Benkei would spend time to become a monk, and then a Yamabushi, one who bows before the mountains, a Japanese mountain ascetic monk with great devotion to the kami. Additionally, he would train as a Sohei warrior monk. The servant Benkei is deeply connected with his monk background. His first and third skills, and more notably his Noble Phantasm, are connected to his priestly self and exploits. His Noble Phantasm, the Pilgrimage of the 500 Arhat, is related to the ancient Fudaraku Tokai, a pilgrimage where Arhat, Buddhist followers who had reached nirvana, would try to travel across the sea to find Mount Padalaka in India, which the Japanese name is Fudaraku-san. This mountain is an incredibly holy site to Buddhist practitioners. I don't believe Benkei was an Arhat, and given his exploits in Japan, I doubt he went on the pilgrimage. I suspect that the Noble Phantasm is more attributed to his phantom self, and another fact that we will learn later on. Since this Benkei isn't quite the real Benkei, his Noble Phantasm isn't personalized. Given that Benkei is one of the most famous monks that sit at the throne of heroes, I suspect this phantom developed his Noble Phantasm for the amount of religious faith attributed to who he is. We need to help build context for the rest of the story. We're going to look at Benkei's Bond CE, Encounter at the Gojo Bridge. It refers to what may be one of the most important moments in Benkei's life. It occurs after his Sohei training is complete. The Naginata-wielding ascetic travels to Kyoto. At the Gojo Bridge, Benkei challenges passing samurai, defeating almost 1,000, claiming a total of 999 weapons from the defeated. Likely some of those we see on his back. He had hoped to collect 1,000, and an evening shy of his goal, he heard a flute. Finding the wandering musician, he meets Minamoto no Yoshitsune, whom the Masters of Chaldea know as Ushi Wakamaru. The two duel at the Gojo Bridge, and Yoshitsune wins quite handedly. After tasting defeat a second time and finding a truly superior warrior, Benkei swears his loyalty to Yoshitsune. The two would go on many adventures and help install the very first shogun, Yoshitsune's brother Minamoto Yorimoto. Today, there is a statue at the present-day Gojo Bridge depicting this encounter. Regarding the skill Vengeful Spirit Exorcism, in, I believe it's the no-drama Benkei and the Boat, Yoshitsune and his retinue, including Benkei, are attacked by an army of ghosts that Yoshitsune had previously killed. Benkei is said to have taken his prayer beads together and called to 5 deities. These 5 gods answered the prayer, and the vengeful ghosts were soon purified. The skill itself is an enemy skill seal with a decent chance, level 1 being a 50% shot. Now we get to Benkei's final skill, which for me was the hardest to figure out because its name feels like a glitch in the Matrix. Blank subscription list. I see that, and I think something's not connecting to the name's proper data. However, I did find a clue in the most unlikely of places. The FGO fandom website, so kudos to whoever figured it out. I owe you. I will dedicate my next gold servant pull to you, Nameless Hero. The final skill refers to something Benkei did as he and Yoshitsune's party had to flee Kyoto. After installing the Kamakura shogunate, Minamoto Yorimoto was jealous of Yoshitsune's reputation and declared his own sibling and all who followed Yoshitsune a traitor. They had to flee and disguise themselves as monks to pass through the border checkpoints. Eventually, they were questioned as to why a group of monks were presently traveling. Benkei, being the only actual monk, came up with a convincing lie and then an even more convincing bluff. Benkei claimed the group were traveling to collect alms to repair the Todai-ji temple in Nara. When questioned about having a kanjinsho, a list of almsgivers, Benkei said they had one. He was, of course, lying. Instead, Benkei produced a blank sheet of parchment and read it as if it was the Kanjinsho list. The guards believed Benkei, and the group managed to escape, which sets up the single most epic battle in Benkei's life. After attacking a bridge where hundreds of fellow soldiers died fighting one man, a volley of arrows is fired hoping to send that single warrior to Jigoku. After mustering the courage to risk facing the demon that killed hundreds of soldiers, they approach the bridge. As they approach, an imposing figure is seen standing on the bridge riddled with arrows. Oni Wakamaru, Saito Mushshibo Benkei, loyal retainer to Minamoto no Yoshitsune, the one who just single-handedly killed 300 attackers with his naginata. He stands in death leaning on his weapon, with the 300 at his feet, a testament to his skill and loyalty. This is known as the standing death of Benkei. Now finally we look at this epic final ascension art. Not something I usually go into, but this deserves it. It depicts Benkei's final moments, as the arrows hit and he leaves this world to sit at the throne of heroes. At a castle in Mutsu Province, in modern-day Iwate Prefecture, Yoshitsune was surrounded and intended to commit seppuku. To ensure the opportunity, Yoshitsune ordered Benkei to guard the bridge leading to the main entrance, and the warrior monk did so. There is a statue which is said to have been built in the position he died. For the record, this has to be some of the most badass final ascension art I've ever seen. Off the top of my head, Hercules is close, but Benkei is only a 2-star servant and he gets this majesty. Now, after all of this, I need to come clean. Everything I told you was the truth, or as close as you can come to the truth when Benkei lived hundreds of years before humanity figured out the heliocentric solar system. However, this 2-star servant isn't actually who he says he is. This is, to my knowledge, the first ever recorded case of identity theft in the Throne of Heroes. If you look at his profile page, entries 5 and 6 reveal that he is not Benkei, he is actually a vassal named Kaison Hitachibo, who was known for fleeing the final battle where Benkei died. His interlude, Destroyer Monk, ends straight up calling him a fake, and this is even hinted at in the event The Great Tale of Demons Onigashima. Embarrassed by his actions, it is believed that Hitachibo would become a minstrel, wandering Japan and telling the stories of Yoshitsune and Benkei. And who better to steal a legend's identity than the very person who actually spread it to the masses? Actually ends up explaining a lot of Benkei's abilities, many of which are featured in no drama and kabuki theater. Hitachibo doesn't really need the truth of Benkei to exist, and draws power from the stories he told the masses. Regarding his noble phantasm, since this phantom isn't Benkei, but someone posing to be Benkei, all of Benkei's main feats, which an actual Benkei servant could develop into a noble phantasm, are impossible for Hitachibo to use as of right now. In fact, his wish for the Grail is to erase or assimilate the real Benkei's spirit core and thus become the real Benkei. Personally, I'd like to believe that Hitachibo would rather keep Benkei's legend alive and have his name forgotten. After all, Benkei had one of the most epic last stands in all of history, exemplifying a warrior's honor, skill, and loyalty. Whereas Kaison Hitachibo is the exact opposite. He betrayed his master and ran away, abandoning his friends and allies. However, it is entirely possible, even probable, that Hitachibo's wish is far more malicious than I want it to be. Regardless, that is the truth behind the 2-star Benkei that we know in Fate Grand Order. His real name, Kaison Hitachibo, the man who helped the Masters of Chaldea in the Babylonian Singularity, masquerading as a better man. It is time for the usual YouTube sound off. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like down below, or a thumbs down. I'm not that picky, and really I'm just glad that you care. If you want to see more in the future, be sure to subscribe to the Chaldean Archives. We have more servant backgrounds coming and even more Fate videos on the horizon. Lastly, leave a comment below telling me what you think of the imposter Benkei, and if in the future I should add a brief servant review and guide segment to the videos. This is Regulus from the Chaldean Archives, signing off.